Hello, everyone. We're Share Creators. Nice to meet you guys. And today we will talk about overcoming the challenge of game internalization. And before we start, let us introduce who are we, because this is a giant topic. And let me introduce to you who are we and why do we have the expertise to talking about this big topic. And number two, part two, what is the challenge? What is game internationalization? And part three, and how to get a better conversion rate. Especially like some of you probably just graduated or are junior artists, probably do not know what's the terms of conversion rate. Basically, it means players that before downloading the game and go to the App Store page, and they check whether they want to download it. If the players actually download it, that's counting for the conversion rate. Same as the advertisements, like who actually click the link for the ads are the conversion rate. And this is impact so much is because people actually download the app, the game developers will get the income. So this is a very important topic, and it will, if you can do this very well, you will have a lot of incomes. And about us, who are we? We are Share Creators. We're based in San Francisco. And right now we have around 150 designers globally as our full-time employees. And we also providing digital asset management softwares globally. And we serve clients around the world. For example, we co-developed PUBG Mobile, Call of Duty, Star Wars, Game of Thrones, Warhammers, and Diablos. Especially Diablos, in the past 5 years, we co-developed thousands of designs for them for the full pipeline. And in last year, we co-developed all top 5 games that launched by China developers. And we have 3 offices right now. One headquarters is in San Francisco, and the other 2 offices are in China. So that's the reason that we have a little bit of experience in game internationalization. And let's take a look of our portfolio. Developed Diablos for their marketing pieces, concept arts, CG productions, and also in-game 3D productions. These are some early stage concepts that we developed. And also we co-developed a lot of drinks in this year as well. And a lot of post-apocalypse games, Warpath, Star Wars, Game of Thrones, Tom and Jerry, and PUBG Mobile. Especially PUBG Mobile, we co-developed the majority of their assets for user communities. Rise of Kingdoms. And some hard surface design. About us. So why are we also developing the software? Is because we find out, oh, our artists always naming the files as final, 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 final. And we cannot find the files after 3 years or 4 years when we want to make the portfolios or doing another generation of the game. That's the reason we developed the software for digital asset management as well. And it's basically enterprise Google that you can search for any asset and reuse it later on. And that's about us. So we have a little bit of expertise on talking about launching our games globally from one country to another. There are, what's the challenge? That's the most important thing. What's the problems that we want to solve? And what's the background? What's the beauty standard between Asian market and the Western market? That's the questions that we ask. And based on data, in last year, 23% of the market shares occupied by China developers. And they generated 2.22 billion of revenue globally from China developers. So it's a huge amount of money. And also 42 Chinese mobile games earned more than 100 million revenues. And as artists, our job is make sure that helping the business grow bigger and generate more revenues for game developers. I think the more that you help developers to generate I think your boss will pat on the back of your shoulder and give you more incomes. So this is directly impact your annual incomes as well. And give you examples. For example, Mihail's RGB Genshin Impact generated 3.7 billion in revenue in the past 2 years. And you can play with your friends on PC and mobile together. It's a cloud game. And what this number means, it means like I think for 7 billion, Microsoft acquired ZeniMax, who developed Elder Scrolls and also Fallout 4. So it's like two companies size. So this is a enormous amount of revenue generated by a mobile game that launched by China developers. And also Rise of Kingdoms. Rise of Kingdoms actually generated $926 million in 2020. And the reason that we gave this example is because we co-developed all of their hero characters from the beginning to the end. And we closely observed why this is happening, why this impacted the conversion rate so much. And as you know, Asian market and the Western market, the beauty standard and the aesthetic is very, very different. Especially for like US market players, generally like realistic types of game styles. However, in Asian market, the characters are more stylized. And this is impact on our production steps as well. For example, like for the AAA games, majority of the characters that done by 3D scanning and with the realistic facial features, and the hairs are all done by hair card, so hyper-realistic approach. However, in Asian market, all the characters are done by hand sculpting, and almost no one use a 3D scanning for the head. And all the characters with stylized jawlines and emphasize on the eyes. Probably you like mangas and you saw like majority of the characters with super, super big eyes. And also know your audience. So which market are you launch is very important. And second one, very important, is understanding your audience. What's the age of your audience? And for example, like Genshin Impact, majority of their users are actually teenagers from like 12 to 20. And for even younger audience, Cuphead probably more attractive. And for adults, Elden Rings and The Last of Us, probably you played before. So this is impact on their on the art style as well. So before we start designing anything, we need to think about who are our target audience, and also female players. Female players generally like beautifully visual designed casual games, and it's more colorful. For example, like Candy Crush and SimCity. However, male audience, probably majority of them like a realistic style approach. For example, like PUBG Mobile that we co-developed, and also Call of Duty that we co-developed. And in general, deciding on if this project is designed for which group of our target users, and select one major style. This is very important because I saw students or junior artists blending several types of art style together, and it looks interesting. And choose one major style and one sub-style. For example, like a realistic style of cyberpunk. These are two major styles, or cartoon style cyberpunk. Both works. However, make your decision early on. So first one that launch the game globally, make sure that know your audience, and make sure that your audience deciding on what type of style do you want to go with. And the most important thing, how to get a better conversion rate. We are being asked by China developers, or the developers want to launch games in Asian market every day. And this is a very big topic, and impact on the future of the game company. So it's very important as well. Why this is important, what designers play the role in this. And is there any principles that we can follow, even though there are a variety of games in there? So let's dive into it. So the importance, for example, Rise of Kingdoms. This game, the art style, is very high quality and unique. It's attracted so many users that never played strategy games before. And also, it's attracted so many female users as well. Usually, SLG types of games attract only male users. However, this one is a unique case that attract female users as well. People probably ask why this art style impacted this. Let's take some looks of this. So Rise of Kingdoms, you can see basically, there's different countries that you can select to play as a strategy and build up your base. Some characters are historical figures that are famous, but in cartoonized way. However, the art style, it's very easy to approach to both female and males, and beautifully designed. And the quality is very high, like a feature film. So it's very hard to see in mobile games. And some of the key characters that we developed. And if you are putting these shots online and ask if this is come from a feature film animation, probably people wouldn't know this is from a game. And this developer also developed some other new games that just soft launched that we can have a sneak peek. The characters design are super well done, and it's attracted so many conversion rates. Like the fur design is very hard to see in the games because of the polygons limits. And some silhouette beautifully designed. And the fur render is awesome. So generally, 3 principles to help you to improve your conversion rate. Number 1 is target users. What's the user profiles, and what's the distribution channels? Distribution channels means where do you launch your game? In Android store like Google Play, or distribute through Apple Store? And what's the publishing market? Are you launching this game in Asian market, or US, or South America? And what's the product features? This is also very important, is because not every game that you developed, probably you can play. For example, last week we worked on like 20 titles. We cannot have the time to play all 20 titles. So it's our duty to at least understand what's the product key features, why players playing this. And the principle 3 is use the visual language to convey the product idea in a way that target users want to see. This is super important is because majority of the players that we saw, designers that we saw, only cares about what they like. Actually, this is not gonna generate more revenues. Providing what target users want to see is more important. And in general, art style impact more on conversion rate because before the players actually play the game, they only saw the art style, the descriptions, and deciding whether they want to download the game from like a Steam or Apple Store or Google Play. However, the revenue and the gameplay impacted more on the retention rate. So basically, you probably played some games beautifully designed, but it's so boring and you deleted that in 1 or 2 days. So art impact a lot on the conversion rate. And user profiles. Let's dive into details. So who are your target users, male or female, or what's the age? And the age one is very interesting. For example, Tencent acquired League of Legends, the Riot game, with 400 million a couple of years ago. And then they basically mimicked it and developed a similar type of mobile game, Honor of Kings. But these two games, the target users are different. Honor of Kings generated 4.5 billion revenues, and their target users are actually teenagers from 12 to 20. And the League of Legends, their majority of the users are over 20 years old, from 25 to 30-ish. So it's two different age groups, even though the game are exactly the same in gameplay. However, it's generated attracted different groups of users and massively successful in both markets. And also make sure that understand the art style in different markets and distribution channels. Let's dive into details. So AFK Arena is the project that we co-developed in the past 2 to 3 years. And it's also a massively successful mobile game. And at the beginning, Lily's game, they encountered some difficulties internally. In the first year, they were analyzing why their internal design didn't bring in too much revenue or the conversion rate is not good enough, even though that they tested 5 or 6 times already with different batch on their Apple Store and Google Play. And as you can see, the design is not bad. Actually, some are very good. And this is another set that they designed before, and another set, and another set. And all of these are actually very well designed for designers. Like the composition is good, the color palette is good, then why is not attracting too much users? And after what we have done, the data growing so much. So why this is happening? Let's dive into details. What did we do? So actually, before starting on designing anything, we go back to the research, looking at the foundation data that we mentioned before. Who are the target users? What's the demographics? What's the genders? Usually, for this one, AFK Arena, male users is the majority. Takes about 85% of the total users. And the ages is generally a little bit older than the rest of mobile game users. For example, it's from 24 to 38 years old. And the occupations, majority of them are working people instead of students. And they are either blue collars or white collars. And this is also means a lot because they are more consciously on spending their money because they know life is hard already. And the regions, they are from economically developed regions like California, Texas. And also, we researched on what type of characters that players really likes in user communities. It makes sense in checking in here. So majority of the users are male users, and they generally like female characters. And the majority of the more heroic characters are more popular among users. And bulky types of body shapes didn't attract too much users. And we did the demographic chart on checking what's going on in here, which design actually impacted more on the user communities. And here are some research results. And we also did a lot of research on what's the popular weapons that among users, why users playing on this, the users actually playing this game, which channel that they watch more. For example, are they a Twitch user or are they YouTube users? For example, Twitch users, majority of them are hardcore users, tend to spend more because they even in their free time watch game streamings. And for YouTube users, probably not that hardcore, something like this. So we researched all types of data in different areas. And second principle, use the visual language to convey the product features. And this is counterintuitive in this part. Actually, less is more. Minimalism design actually is playing quite well on game development, especially for mobile games. And it makes sense because when you view a design on a mobile screen, see the previous beautifully designed works, it's not that clear. A lot of things cluttered together and influence the people making the decisions. So actually less is more. And the more hardworking the artist is, they tend to adding more elements in here. Especially a majority of the design are done in PC and they are looking at their full screen. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep, so actually less is more, and we going back, remove all the elements unnecessary in here. And also use your visual language to convey the product features. As you can see, the main feature of AFK Arena is actually card collective, collect your heroes. And we put this in the page 1. So basically, when you go to Apple Store, you saw this page first, and you decide whether you want to download it or not. And also, we put in another key features in here. For example, in here, strategy, how to convey strategy very clearly. If we are making in-game screenshots and putting in here, probably pretty messy, especially it's real-time render. All the VFX are overlapping with each other. So we actually cutting all the characters out and fake gameplay in here and make it very clear. And even though that you are not seeing the slogans, you still understand, oh, I can swamp characters and set up different strategies and combinations to fight with the other side of the character, the other side of the players. And same as exploring the maze, you can unlock different treasure chests in different maze levels. So basically, we are using images to convey the gameplay ideas. And we saw so many junior artists probably when designing this, they think more on the art foundation stuff like composition, values, colors, stuff like that, but missed the most important thing, the game features. And And another thing that when we are doing A/B test, we need to thinking about control the test elements, which elements that we want to see in this batch, and what this means. So many game companies that we worked with before, they test the completely irrelevant several sets. For example, like in here. They tested so many irrelevant sets, but when the data comes back, some are good, some are bad, and they cannot analyze, they do not know why this data is not performing well, why the other set is not performing well, because they test the completely different things. So it's like a scientific research. You want to control the elements, what do you want to test in this batch? So you know exactly which elements impacted your data. So in here, several batches. For example, the batch 1 would change the characters. The first batch are popular characters among different demographics. And second batch, we swamp the characters, so we know different characters impact on different conversion rate. And batch 2 and batch 3, we change the slogans, so we know what's going on in here and which elements actually impacted on our conversion rate. So actually, the first one after our user research. The data increased by like 12%. So it's amazing by how we know exactly on which elements contributed to the data and why one set is performing better than the other set. And everything that putting in the design are consciously choice. It's not by intuition. We're knowing the logic behind why we put these elements behind. And there are several other case studies for other games. For example, Warpass is also the co-developing project that we did with Lily's Games. And this is also SLG types of game, but it's in hyper-realistic styles. Let's take a look of their games. Actually, it's quite cool. This is the part of the promotion that we did together. We are handling the A/B testing for Apple Store and Google Play, and this studio worked on their video promotions. We didn't work on this short film. However, we released our design with the package of these videos. So you got a general idea about what's this game about. It's for sure Second World War. And we did so much research on who are the target users who actually want to play this game. Majority of them are actually veterans or serving in the military right now, or history interesting people. Like they really like to reading historical books and watch documentaries about Second World War. And majority of them are actually older than 25 years old. And mature users occupy a large amount of the target users, for example, around 35 each years old. The good thing about this group of users is because they're pretty well off. They already established their families and with higher income. However, they're spending money on games more consciously. So how can we attract these types of users? So we actually, going back, researched on so much on the tanks that used on Second World War, and also researched on all types of weapons. For example, the tanks used, for example, used by Germany or used by UK and Soviet Union, what types of tanks are they using? What's the special features about that? So we incorporated inside this. And Normandy, we researched so much documentaries about this war as well, and trying to restore this as accurate as possible in our promotions and emphasize the mood of it. So that's the reason that conversion rate of this batch works really well. And as you can see, the tanks, we researched on every single details. And also utilize the three principles, understanding your target users and also the game features, because this is SLG's type of game. People are upgrading their buildings. And as you can see in here on the top view, it's quite clear. And also use the product features in a way that target users want to see. And there are some of rules that we utilized in here, like for example, game slogans, as short as possible and clean. And also incorporated the user research data onto it. So the conversion rate is much better than the previous batch. And there are some additional informations here. For example, knowing your budget, and marketers should get into the development in the early stage. For example, if you have a high budget, we developed this for PUBG Mobile. Based on the user research, the boys and the PUBG Mobile, they have overlapping target users. And if you have a massive amount of budget, you can utilize some of the famous IPs in here. And if you have mid-level budget, probably you can transfer of your in-game characters into some CG productions, so it looks better. For example, like Garena's Free Fire is also top 5 battle royale games in global. So that we developed some of the key characters in here in CG productions. So that's about it. Is there any questions that we have? Usually I make this presentation among professional game developers. They really like it, but probably because today we have some newly graduate students didn't really get into this A/B testing yet. Yep.
Hi. So I...
Oh, excuse me. Can someone open the light at the back? I cannot see you. Yeah.
The large dark shape.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
So I'm in a leadership position
Yeah.
at a studio
Yeah.
here in the U.S. that
Yeah.
works often with Chinese clients
Yeah.
and Chinese developers,
Yeah.
making high-end illustrations.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we constantly come across are those cultural
Yeah.
preferences and beauty standards.
Yeah.
Oftentimes on games that are published in both Western and East Asian markets.
Yeah.
How do you help your customers talk across that divide and communicate to each other about, okay, this is a piece for the Western market, this is a piece for the Eastern market.
Yes.
But they both need to be for the same game and look plausibly similar.
Yeah, unified in style.
Yeah.
This is actually very important. Number one, we need to teach the clients some basic ideas. Probably, we have a lot of clients actually super successful in domestic Chinese market, however, didn't do too well when they are launching games overseas. So we need to give them some basic principles and examples on what we did previously, and help them to set up A/B testing goal and A/B testing strategy. As we mentioned, we're going back to do user research to see what's the difference between Chinese users and US users on their preferences, and gave them examples, and also analyze the game features, which game features probably can do well in US market, which feature didn't do well in user market. And one interesting thing is that the Chinese market users do not really mind pay to win. And the US market users hate that so much. And also, there is some misunderstanding. For example, Chinese developers think US players like female characters with big boobs, long legs, or something like that. Hollywood is definitely not helping on that. So we need to teach them on some principles and set up the strategy for them, and convey them that let's do a user test on this. Like, for example, we can do the Google Play forecasting test and to show them the actual data, or they can just rolling that out in user communities or even like Facebook ads or Instagram ads. And those data, the good thing is that it's real time. So they can see the data change like within a week, and then they are conveyed by you like, hey, I understand this, and the data is performing really well. And AFK Arena is an extreme case. At the beginning, their 1 week revenue is 10 million. And we helped them to increase the like 11%. That's 1 million more of revenue. And we bring in that much money for them, they for sure will give us all the works in the future, yeah.
So if you're not in a position where you have access to the data, but you need to produce visual assets across markets, would you recommend that you like ask the client for their data or ask them for data informed?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely figure out who is the manager in the marketing team or the product team, and convey them that, hey, let's try this A/B test strategy, and can you share with us the data that you have? And then they usually, once you show your expertise, they want to share the data with you and analyze what should we do in next step. Because A/B testing is never stop in step one. It's continuous effort. They want to know what next should we do. And also, if they do not have the data yet, if the game didn't launch yet, we can show them the other games, like competitors. We gave them the competitor research, what we did for them before. For example, like MOBA types, there are similar types of games. And SLG type, we show them the competitor research, yeah. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah.
Talk in more of the ad market. This could be applied as well.
Oh, which market?
The indie market. Like, independent developers, like, do you think it's more like in mind with AAA titles and the biggest market, but this could easily be translated in a sense.
Yeah.
Just smaller,
yeah.
I guess it'd take a little bit more research, but.
Yep. It's exactly the same process. Understand what the domestic market lacks in India market. I saw so many games actually doing super well in only the East West Asian market, a small market, but doing super well.
Yeah, I meant India, like independent developers.
Indie developers. Indie developers, what's your primary goal depending on that? If your primary goal is artistic express, then you can ignore everything that I just said. Because your goal is not making money, it's just build up your reputation in the industry. If you want to make money, you should consider this exactly the same principle. Yeah. It's in general, if you want to make it half a half, it's gonna be really hard. You either shooting for a goal to generate more revenue or making money and pay for all the mortgages, or you build up your reputation and make everyone think, oh, this is an awesome artist. Yeah, yeah. And we are in generally our revenue type. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Do you see any market trend nowadays by region? Yeah, yeah. Actually, for U.S. market, we use a lot of 3D rendered based characters, hyper realistic, and same as tanks. We need to overpaint a lot to make it more realistic. However, in China market, they like 2D, purely 2D paint styles, less realistic, however more stylized. So that's a different conversion rate. Yeah.
So do you run different ad campaigns in different regions?
Yes. Yeah, we run different campaigns for sure. And usually there's a soft launch depending on the soft launch country. And we always ask the developers, where is your major market? Do you want to be successful in Western market, like US, EU, or South America? Or do you want to win in Asian market? That's totally different strategy. And we definitely run different campaigns in different countries. And if they're, for example, if their major market is US and soft launch, we usually choose Canada. It's smaller and similar. Yeah.
So do we engage with the prototyping and you encourage students before you set up like they set up
Yeah.
do we engage with your team before they even start deciding on the artistic style?
Uh-huh.
Or it's more like already
Yeah. Yeah, usually it's purely depending on the developers. If they find us earlier, they usually would like to listen to our opinions on this, and then they make decisions what type of game that they want to go with the art style. And it purely depends. For Warpath, we only collaborate with them on the marketing phase. But for Diablo and many other games, we started the collaboration since day one, even before any of the concept art. We show them the competitor research on what we think is correct, and gave them the options on 1, 2, 3, what options that we could give to them, and they can decide what's the next. We can make a proposal and style guide for them, and then they decide which style that they want to adopt. But for the market research and A/B test effort, we generally gave them a strategy and set up what we want to achieve in this this campaign and how much A/B test the result that we are expecting. In general, we can forecast a little bit and verify in the A/B test. And we generally use Google Play forecasting systems for that. Yeah.
You mentioned earlier in your talk, like junior artists are often very good craft thinkers, but not very good product thinkers.
Yeah.
How do you educate your designers and illustrators to think about
Yeah.
product needs and things along these lines when they're making their art?
Yeah, actually, we're doing exactly these trainings, and it's a long time effort. First of all, they should be open-minded because the artists who think they're the best and only adopting their own ideas probably will not do well. And we educate them on showing them the data and showing them the competitor research and our previous experience. and show them step by step, and then they can learn how to do this. I trained 2 of our art directors on doing this, and then they can go and train all the lead artists, the artists on this. Yeah. Yeah.
I have a question around all the data that you have to generate this. I know some of it is stuff that you gathered yourself. Is there other like repositories or other places where you can go to access data that isn't, that's sort of like for the industry more broadly? Like are there places where you don't have like a specific test that you can still get general sort of?
Yeah. Data, actually we search on Sensor Tower and App Annie a lot. They have very good data. And yearly, there's also market report. Facebook are publishing their game market research every year, and it's quite useful as well. Usually those big ads channels, distribution channels, they publish their user research as well. So definitely take a look at that. And depending on your purpose, you can just Google it, and you can find the data that you want to see. Yeah. Yeah. Anything else? Probably, I think this topic I chose is for leadership and executive levels. So the junior artists probably didn't interesting in this.
They'll have to deal with it soon enough.
Yeah. When they have the mortgage, they will need to think about this. And also, we have our softwares that you can take a look in the booth. And here is my business card as well.